There's a handful of year-over-year giving trends that are showing no signs of slowing down. And when you properly understand what each of these giving trends mean, you'll be able to improve the overall experience for your church's donors and inspire them to give in the right ways. And in this video, I'm going to show you what each of these trends are, along with the most important takeaways your church needs to know.
Well, hey there, and welcome to Pro Church Tools, the show where in 10 minutes or less, you're going to get a dose of tips and tactics to help your church share the message of Jesus while we navigate the biggest communication shift in 500 years. I'm your host, Alex Mills, joined as always by the boss man, Brady Shearer.
Got some trends to talk about today, Alex, pertaining to giving. Lots of data to go through, so we're going to dive right in. All of the links to the data that we reference will be in the show notes, though I do want to make a note that a lot of the data comes from yearly annual reports from these big agencies, kind of like these are the most important reports that are done on giving. They're the most expansive, the most substantive. Some of them cost money.
Right, they're not always free.
One I paid for is like $100.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you just have to enter your email address.
Yeah.
It's free, but you have to enter your email address. So we just want to make that disclaimer. Number one, first thing is preferred methods of giving. When it comes to worldwide, North American, Christian givers, all of those three different categories, how do people prefer to give? Number one, far and away, 5 times more preferred than any other option, is giving online with debit or credit card.
Yeah.
Worldwide, it's 54%. In North America, it's 60%. Amongst Christians, it's 52%. Wow. So very similar numbers across all three of those categories.
Yeah.
And then there's a huge drop-off when it comes to the other methods of giving, when it comes to what givers prefer. This is what they want to do. If they had their choice, you would give them this option. 5 times more popular giving online. Following those tightly is direct mail, 11% worldwide, 13% in North America. Cash comes in after that, 11% worldwide, only 6% in North America.
Okay.
So a huge drop there, 12% amongst Christians. Then there's bank transfers. Again, around 10% worldwide, 5% North America, 11% Christians. PayPal, got to get PayPal in there, 9% worldwide, 8% North America. So again, all these numbers are very, very similar.
Yeah.
And then finally, or second to last rather, the mobile app, it's 4%, text messages, 1%.
Wow.
Big takeaway there. People prefer to give online. It's not close. That is far and away the most preferred option.
Yeah.
Number 2, money given to charities. According to the 2018 Giving USA report, which is the longest running and most comprehensive report of its kind, this was the one that cost me a lot of money to buy. $410 billion was given in charitable donations in America.
That's not a little bit of money.
Not a little bit of money.
That's a lot of cash.
And interestingly, 70% of that $410 billion was given by individuals.
Okay.
So it's not like this is all coming from giant corporate donations.
Right.
Like the vast majority, 3/4 almost, is coming from individuals like you, I, those watching, and those listening. Moving forward from that, this is also interesting. Of all the different places that you could give, religious charities topped the list in America as the most popular type of charity to donate to. They received 31% of that $410 billion. And faith-based organizations realized the greatest year-over-year monthly increases in online charitable revenue. What does that mean?
I'm not sure.
A lot of words, a lot of fancy rhetoric. Basically, it means that of all the places you could give, religious charities are getting the most of it.
Yeah.
Churches and other third-party religious, what's it called? When you're not like a church. Parachurch.
Okay.
That's the one.
Parachurch organizations.
They're the ones that are getting the most money out of all the possible charities.
Well, that's good news, right?
It is good news, and that money is going up every year, and it's going up in online as well. So people are translating more of their cash to online giving.
Well, it's easier to give now that you can give online. It's so much easier than putting a check in an envelope and sending it in the mail or whatever. So the easier it gets to give, probably you'll continue to see these numbers rise.
Yeah, and along those lines, let's talk about millennial giving. Interestingly, again, the study found that the top 2 recipients of millennial giving are places of worship and faith-based organizations.
Wow.
So as much as we think that, millennials are anti-church, anti-religion, when it comes to millennials giving of their money, churches are topping the list of the people and organizations they choose to give to.
I like this episode so far. It's been pretty happy.
Well, let's keep it going that way.
Yeah.
Number 4, top causes for Christian giving. Okay, who are Christians giving to? This is where it takes, I guess, maybe a little bit of a turn.
I knew that was coming.
You knew it was coming. There was 2,744 Christian donors included in this study. So a huge group when it comes to a study. Children and youth organizations took up 17% of the giving. Faith and spirituality was 11%. Health and wellness, 11%. Animals and wildlife, 10%. Human and social services, 8%. So those final four, human and social services, animals and wildlife, health and wellness, faith and spirituality, all right around 10%. And then 50% more popular than each of those four, children and youth. Lots of data. What does it all mean? We love to share data, but we got to share takeaways as well because the data on its own doesn't mean much. What are the takeaways as we see it? Takeaway number one, we mentioned this already. Online giving through credit and debit cards is 5 times more preferred than the second most popular option.
Right. So it's clear what people want, how they want to give. It's abundantly clear.
It's very, very clear. And the numbers are the same amongst Christians, North America, amongst worldwide. And if you care to look into this study, which we'll have linked in the show notes, it also has breakdowns for all the other continents. So if you are UK based, if you're Australia based, you can look in and see what your specific continent is showing as well. And the reason this is important is because, look, I do church announcements for 100 plus churches every single week. I know how much churches emphasize app-based giving and text-based giving.
Right.
It's not that those things can't work. People want to give to your church, and however you make it available, they will find a way to do it.
Right. But it doesn't mean they prefer it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
If we know that Christians prefer to give online 50 times more than through text or 10 times more than through apps, why are we emphasizing and spending money to use those other platforms when we could work to improve, optimize, prioritize, and emphasize online giving the way that it's meant to be? So this is a huge trend that I see going forward. It's not that there's anything wrong with app-based giving or text-based giving, but if we know that our donors vastly prefer another option that is more affordable and easier to set up and more accessible, let's prioritize and emphasize that. Takeaway number 2, online giving is only going to increase as millennials and Gen Z continue to get older and technology becomes even more pervasive. This is a trend that's going to continue to go up as people shift. That 54% prefer giving online. It's only going to increase and increase and increase.
Right.
We went out to lunch yesterday and, well, you can tell the story.
Well, we were trying to find a parking spot in like the downtown of the city, and we were in this parking lot, and was it last time you were there? You could only you could only pay for parking with cash. And it's like, I don't have cash. Like, I just want to go and tap my card on the machine, print my ticket, put it on the dash. And so you went into your car, the parking was $5. You went into your car, dug out $3.80 because that's all you could find under your driver's seat. And the guy was like, I guess this is fine.
Because I was in line.
He knows you don't have any more money.
And it's like, I can't reverse. I can't go forward. Right. And he's like, look, I think the city thinks this is a better option. He's like, I don't know what they're thinking. Like, we don't know what they're thinking. Like, we all have cards. Tap and go. And tap and go.
Right. And this trend is only going to increase. You know, I get it all the time at the grocery store. When I pay for my groceries, I pay with my watch most of the time. And if it's not my watch, it's my phone. And more often than not, the cashier says, the way of the future, isn't it? And it's like, yeah, it is. And so let's double down on that and make that available to the people who want to give to our church.
It's already 5 times more preferred. So it's not just that this is in the future. The trend will only get more increasing like this, but it's here now as well. Invest in the infrastructure as is. Finally, takeaway number 3, this might be the most important. Cause-based giving to children and youth. 50% more popular amongst Christian givers than giving to churches. It's going to become increasingly less effective in my mind to motivate people to give out of obligation and, let's say, doctrinal necessity versus inspiration. The reason that giving to children and youth is as high as it is because organizations like World Vision and Compassion are the experts, the masters at using inspiration, storytelling to inspire people to give.
We've all been at that Christian concert where in between the opener and the headliner, the guy comes out, starts telling you a story. It's like, I don't know who this guy is, but like, this is great. And he says, and I'm here on behalf of World Vision. And he's got you hook, line, and sinker with this story. He's like,
you're in trouble.
Put your hand up if you want to sponsor another child. I'm like, I already sponsor 3 children, but I got to put my hand up. Like, I'm invested in this story. I got to sponsor another kid. And like, you're right. Like, we get invested in these stories of these real life things that are happening all across the world, and we hear about, you know, a real cause that we can maybe bring some sort of change to by giving. And so, of course, we love to give to these kind of causes because we get to hear the story behind the cause. We're not just giving to church out of compulsion because we think that, you know, we have to give 10% off of our paycheck anymore. And Jesus, at the risk of like getting too spiritual here, like Jesus himself addressed that. He was talking to the religious people. He's like, yeah, sure, you guys do your tithes and you bring your spices. And he's like, but you've missed the whole heart of it. He's like, I never wanted that at all. He says, what I want, the kind of offering, the kind of gift that I'm looking for is justice and love and mercy. And it's this like holistic spirit of generosity that Jesus is going after. He's like, yeah, you should be giving to the poor. You should be giving to the church. You should be a person who gives because you're possessed with the spirit of generosity, not because it's a religious compulsion that you have. And that's why people can't buy in or have a hard time buying into giving at church, because we just say, yeah, bring your tithes and offerings, put them up in the basket. And that's all we ever say about it, as opposed to saying, hey, this is what our church is doing this month. We have this initiative. There's a you know, a children's home in town that really needs some help, or there's a food bank, there's this or that. This is what we want to go after this month. This is how we want to help and serve our community. People will run to give at that kind of opportunity when you can put kind of some flesh on the story, as opposed to just saying, yeah, just fill out the envelope, put your tithes on there, and we'll see you again next week.
I mean, how many giving messages have we sat through when someone talks about what Paul says? Hey, church, it's important to be a cheerful giver. Right. And I want to challenge all the leaders, pastors, and churches listening to this. Hey, let's stop asking and demanding our congregations to be cheerful in their giving when we're only inspiring them, quote unquote, inspiring them to do it out of duty, obligation, and doctrinal necessity. This isn't even necessarily about theology. From a pure effectiveness standpoint, if you want to inspire more giving, increase giving, do it by inspiring people with story. You are a church that is making a difference in the lives of real people. Tell that story. Talk about the specifics. Use individuals. Talk about the causes you're making a difference in, because cause-based giving is what's inspiring people nowadays, shockingly, because storytelling is the most powerful form of human communication. So if you want to do this right, sure, you can tell people, look, it's your duty as a Christian, and if you don't, God might not bless you. I didn't say it. Hey, I didn't say it. I'm not insinuating that if you give, God will bless you more. He has for me as the pastor, but
because I've been tithing for 30 years.
I kid. I don't know. So it's important. Inspire people through story. This is a huge trend that we're seeing in all nonprofits and churches. This isn't going to be hard for us to do it. Inspire through story. Don't do it through duty. Forget the theology for a moment. You can argue with me about that on a different day. From a pure effectiveness standpoint, it will work better if you do it through this method.
Yeah.
We'll close with that. That'll do it for this episode of Pro Church Tools. We'll see you next time. But before we see you next time, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you never miss another video.
And please go ahead, smash that like button, give it a like.
We gotta get to 1 million likes! 1 million likes!